Hey everybody. Whew. So next week we are finally getting to the reunion. Apparently the reunion for season 4 and 5 because we didn't get one for season 4. Whatever. Alright, so this is a review for Love and Marriage Huntsville, season 5, episode 15, The Cold and the Beautiful. So the episode starts off. This episode wasn't really much, but it gave enough. So Stormy and Mel meet up while Mel is getting her massage and trying to keep her peace or whatever. And Mel is telling her that she was on the phone with Martell. They got into it because she was checking him about something, and he called her the side chick's name. And Stormy was like, "Well, did he do that on accident or on purpose?" And Mel was like, "I don't know, and it doesn't matter because I'm so far removed from Martell. I can't." So Mel is like, so Stormy brings up the fact that he's dating Sheree, and Mel's like, "I don't care about him and Sheree." And she said, yes, people have interviewed me, TMZ, and all these other people. And she said she has nothing bad to say about Sheree. She was like, nothing. She's never done anything to me. And she was like, and to be clear, this is not the first woman she's seen him with. And I get that. Like, when you've had that kind of betrayal in a relationship where someone has cheated on you, and you've already seen it, and then you have done the work, to really try to heal as much as one can, it's kind of like, yeah, I've seen him, but at least now I'm not his wife. I'm not looking dumb out here in these streets. And Mel is better than me because as a woman, as a real woman, the way she carries herself and just lets it go a lot of times and lets it go. Like, if you're a real woman, you have to feel for her, whether you like her personality or not, because she doesn't deserve that. And she certainly doesn't deserve so-called friends who she has managed to let on this show come on this show and bring up this information to embarrass her. Just saying. And no, she won't be going to the wine tasting event. I didn't think she was going anyway, and I don't blame her. Don't. Anyway, so then we get to see with Martell and Chris Fletcher. So they're celebrating Inez, the Inez wine in Huntsville. We're supposed to believe that this is a big event. Okay. One, it's in Huntsville. That tells you everything we need to know. Destiny shows up to help him, along with Chris Fletcher. So Martell is avoiding questions about his new woman, Sheree. Like, people hadn't seen that all over the shade room. Okay? So Destiny's messy ass decides she's going to play an interview. And see, Destiny. I didn't like you when you came on the show. I felt for you when they fucked up your Madani release because they were wrong. They were wrong. I'm not, and I won't take that away from you. But now you have returned back to the person I don't like. So Destiny's messy ass plays an interview where Mel says she doesn't care about him dating Sheree and that she saw him with other women when they were married. She said, like, pictures of his, girlfriend, a whole girlfriend he had while they were married. Destiny was clearly, aching for a terrible reaction. And she said, well, why didn't you tell Mel before it hit social media? Last we checked, Mel and Destiny were speaking to each other. So, Destiny, what I'm going to need you to do is don't try to act like you played that clip of an interview to have her back. You did that in front of the cameras. You did that in front of Martell to create discord and tension for no reason whatsoever. So what? Mel is defending herself at this point. And she has every right to, because people are still coming to her with bullshit from her ex-husband. She is officially divorced from him. Quit asking her what she thinks. Do they have 4 children together? Yes. And that's a lot. It's a lot on one person. And I think the way they beat up on her in terms of, like, things that can be painful to a woman, to find out those things, know those things, and maybe there is some trauma where she relives it, but cut it the fuck out. Like, miss me with the bullshit. So Martell was like, how dare she speak on me? And I'm like, boo, because they asked her? Jackass. All right, and Martell has a terrible reaction to anything anybody tells him about Melody. Like, he always just goes off, like, the hinges. Like, he just can't keep it together. He never bothers to check in with her. and to see what's true, what's not true, which, as far as I'm concerned, is a terrible habit. And that speaks volumes about him, that you could be married to this woman for what, 13, 14 years? And you don't even stop and say, hey, that's not the Mel I know. Let me check with Mel. Anybody can tell him anything. As long as it's negative, he'll believe it. I just can't. So we get this boring ass scene with Tisha and Marceau. So they're sitting on the bed gossiping about Martell and Mel like two schoolgirls because they apparently have nothing else to discuss. He said, well, Mel acted like, I heard an interview with Mel about Sheree, and I was just like, oh my God, will y'all please make this stop? And Mel was acting like she was unbothered. And Marceau was like, well, people who think it's a strength to act like you're unbothered, and it's not. Perhaps, Marceau, had you talked to Mel, whose name we know is in your phone because you called her to meet up at Black last episode, you could have gotten clarity before you sat on the bed having a little chit chat with your wife about their divorce business that does not involve y'all, to get all the clarity that you needed to get about how unbothered she was or was not. Okay? Yeah, you're right. When people ask you the same questions over and over again, she can. What would it be for her to be to the world crying, I can't believe with another woman, and she's officially divorced him? How stupid would that look? Like, Mel can't get a break in this group. And it's not even like I feel like I'm just going up for Mel because I like her so much. I like her, but to me, this is also like, y'all are some like fuck boys and some bitches. Y'all don't have nothing to talk about. Like, it's giving stan for Mel. It's giving jealousy of the both of them. It's giving desperate to break Mel, like really hurt her by saying these things on camera to get to her. And it's old. It's tired after 5 seasons. And it's cruel. I think it's cruel. And I think she's been through enough publicly. Honestly, I do. And it needs to stop. So we get to the wine tasting. Martell's wine tasting, and he said something about Huntsville. Tisha said something about Huntsville and how people who want to get to know Huntsville, this is a great location. I'm like, Huntsville is 20 feet long. Why don't y'all just stop it? Like, just cut it out. Y'all just in this country ass podunk town in Alabama, and y'all trying to make us think it's something it's not. It's not. Okay? It's not. All right? So Tiffany starts fucking with Destiny as soon as she walks up. Now, see, it's these moments then you go, first of all, I ain't really on nobody's side on the show. And that's one of the relieving parts of watching some reality television shows. Like Potomac, I'm not really here for nobody because I don't think any of them are really great, with the exception of maybe Karen. And then on this show, I don't really have anybody except for maybe Mel, but like nobody I go so hard for. So Tiffany starts fucking with Destiny as soon as she walks up and asks if she was being fake with Mel at the peace party. And Destiny was looking at her like, is this really the way you start a conversation? And she goes in on her in the confessional like, this girl does not know how to read a room. She has no idea how to read a room. Destiny was like, the only problem I had with anybody at the peace party was you, Tiffany. All right, so Chris confronts Marceau about basically having his name in his mouth and making it appear that Chris was in Atlanta with him, at that time that they keep referring to when he, got caught up in something, I don't know. And Chris was like, but you're making it appear that I was in Atlanta with you without my wife. My wife was there. Okay? Chris said, don't get me in no trouble. And he calls Marceau out on it. And Marceau has this way of hemming and hawing when it comes to like direct questions. And direct questions from a man who's not come back down, i.e. Chris Fletcher. So Marceau does what he always does. He always appears to be telling like some version of the truth, and then the rest of it is distorted, but we don't know which part is distorted. Excuse me. So Martell said him and Sheree decided it was best. This is what we're getting from Martell. Martell, who we know never tells the truth, said they decided it was best for him and Sheree, if Sheree didn't come to the wine tasting, because it would be focused on them dating as opposed to the wine. Truth be told, Martell, You could have used some promotion for this wine because your public speaking skills suck ass. And quite frankly, I don't think people watching this show would just go and buy a product from you because it's by you because you are so unlikable. Okay? So he was fucking up his speech as usual. That shit is cringeworthy. He had a picture of his grandmother. Now look, God bless her soul, and Lord knows I love Lucinda Nicholson, my grandmother. Okay, so I know what it is to lose a grandmother and love them. Okay, but that being said, he had a picture of his grandmother, and I thought it just seemed like too small of a picture for a serious wine launch. It seemed like something you could print out from your home printer or like the Xerox machine at work and hope nobody catches you. You know, like if he had a job, then you know he could do that. Like, but I was just like, why didn't you get this blown up larger? Like, why? Like, it's those kind of details that just make me see that, like, Martell, you aren't much without Mel. And I think you know it too. I think that's why you are always so mad. All right, so Stormy checks on Kimmy at this same wine tasting. She tells Kimmy and Destiny she has breast cancer. I mean, Kimmy tells Destiny and Stormy she has breast cancer. I think the one good thing about this is that everybody seems very supportive of Kimmy during this difficult time, and I think that's good to be able to put all of that aside if it means helping Kimmy. So Marceau and Jalen have a little heart to heart, and this was kind of a nice scene too. And I think it was good of Marceau to check in on him. I think it is so hard to be strong for a parent with breast cancer, and I know because my mother had stage 2 breast cancer, and that was scary as hell for me. And you know, I've told you all about that before, especially when they've been the one who's usually strong for you, and then you're terrified because you know cancer can kill, cancer has killed people. Um, and in the blink of an eye, you've gone from child to what you fear maybe caretaker, not knowing how things are going to work out. It is so scary. So prayers up for Kimmy and Jalen and Kimmy's whole family. Um, when he said that, you know, my mom has good days and bad days, when he was referring to his mother's vulnerability, like that shit hit me because I've been there. I remember my mother feeling like that. Like I hated hearing the pain in her voice because I had to go back and finish my last year of graduate school at UCLA, and she was back on the East Coast. And if my mother cried even growing up, it was rare. She would let us cry. Um, but she always tried to stay as strong as she could. So when I would hear that in her voice, it scared me to see her scared. And you just kind of have to fortify yourself as much as one can. So, you know, prayers up for them. So Martell is in his feelings about Mel not coming to his wine tasting. Martell, is that why you didn't invite Sheree? It's because you thought that maybe, just maybe, if she didn't see you there with Sheree, that you could do that same bullshit you used to pull. And maybe she didn't see you with another woman. She would entertain your text calls and your begging about getting back with him. Girl, bye. Yeah, girl, Martell. Girl, bye. All right. Anyway, so he says he is not coming to get. He shows up at Melody's house. Says he's not coming to get the kids stuff, but he wanted to talk to Mel about the kids. Okay, Martell. He gets mad because Melody doesn't invite him in her house. Martell, is this about your kids or your feelings? Okay, we all know the answer to that, but nevertheless. So, he starts calling Mel while he is pulling out the driveway. I guess for all the attention he's not getting from her, so he decides he's gonna call her. All right. Mel said, you know, they get back into it. Mel said, "Have you ever been invited in my house by me, Martell?" And then she goes, "Why are you acting like this is any different from any other time you come over here? I don't invite you in my house." And I felt like I did feel like Mel was being a little petty though too. But when she said she doesn't expect to be invited in his house, regardless if he lets her in or not, I was like, well, Martell, okay, now that she has identified the pattern of not being invited, get your life together. Just get it. And then Mel read him when she said he has these PMS mood swings. He does act like he has a period, though. He really does. Mel said Martell was allowed to come to Destin, and he's one of the people you give an inch, he takes a yard. And Martell said, well, I thought everything was cool after Destin. And so I was thinking to myself, then why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you being combative then? Like Mel said to him, you were just begging to get back with me, saying, we soulmates, we this. And I believe Mel. I believe Mel, one, because Martell's a liar. Two, this isn't the first time Mel has said that. And Mel was like looking at the text messages. And then he does the typical weak, insecure response that a lot of black men do that I've seen. And he didn't just do it in the scene, he did it in the scene before with Chris Fletcher and Destiny. By saying, well, all the men you've been with, I wouldn't want you anyway. Martell, you have had a side chick for 5 years. You've had a baby by this woman. You had multiple women that your wife had the unfortunate experience of catching you with, who is now your ex-wife. And you have the nerve to accuse her of essentially being ran through. Martell, you're a liar. Martell, this is going to have horrible, horrible effects on your kids. And both of y'all do need to get it together, because the bottom line is they're getting older and school is not going to be a safe place or a fun place the longer y'all stay on TV with this foolishness. And that's all I have to say. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will talk to y'all soon. See you later.